Ba't nabalot ng apoy ang likuran ng isang babae sa Brazil?
Napula kaya kaagad ang apoy mula naman sa katawan ng babae. Nako, kamustahin po natin ang kondisyon ng biktima mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ricky Mathay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Miyerkules.
Department of Foreign Affairs kinumpirma ang pag-usad ng negosasyon para sa visiting forces deal ng Pilipinas at ng Canada.
National Bureau of Investigation nagsampa ng reklamong inciting to sedition at grave threats laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte.
US Vice President J.D. Vance nakipagpulong kay European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen sa Paris.
US President Donald Trump at Elon Musk inakusahan ng USAID na sangkot ito sa korupsyon.
At higit sa 20 katao patay sa malawakang pagbaha sa Bolivia. Kinumpirma ng Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA na umuusad na ang ikinakasang status of Visiting Forces Agreement sa pagitan po yan ng Pilipinas at ng Canada.
Ayon sa DFA, ang kasunduan na ito sa pagitan ng Canada at Pilipinas ay isang pahiwatig ng matagal na pagkakaibigan ng dalawang bansa. Committed nila ang Pilipinas na mas palakasin pa ang depensa ng bansa kasama ang key defense partners nito. Ang pahayag na ito ng DFA ay kasunod ng sinabi ni Canadian Ambassador to the Philippines David Hartman na inaasahang mapipirmahan ang naturang visiting forces deal bago matapos ang taong 2025. Sa ilalim ng kasunduan, papayagan na sumali ang mga tropa ng Canada sa mga malalaking joint military exercises sa bansa tulad ng balikatan exercises ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos.
Nagkasundo ang Department of Social Welfare and Development o DSWD at Japan International Cooperation Agency o JICA na tulungan ang mga Filipino children in conflict with the law at mga children at risk. Sa isang pahayag ng Japanese Embassy sa Maynila, sinabi ng embahada na ang nilagdaang deal sa pagitan ng JICA at DSWD ay maglulunsad ng isang community-based juvenile intervention facilitator system para sa mga naturang kabataan sa ilalim ng Gabay Project. Layon ng kolaborasyon na ito na tulungan ang mga local government units na paunlarin ang kanilang mga juvenile programs para sa mga vulnerable children. Samantala, tinukoy naman ni Japan Embassy First Secretary Aoki Fumiko na ang inisyatibong ito ay nagpapahayag ng kagustuhan ng Japanese government na umalalay sa Pilipinas sa rehabilitasyon at proteksyon ng kabataang Pilipino.
Ngayong nagsimula na ang campaign period para sa 2025 midterm polls, ay muling nagpaalala ang Bureau of Internal Revenue o BIR sa mga kandidatong tumatakbo ngayong eleksyon na tiyaking hindi nakakalimutan ang tamang pagbabayad ng buwis. Sinabi ni BIR Commissioner Romeo Lumagi Jr. kailangang mag-issue ng resibo para sa donasyon, campaign materials at iba pang gastusin sa pangangampanya. Kasama rin dito ang pag-withhold ng tax sa kanilang mga partners na supplier para sa kanilang campaign posters at advertisements. Binigyan diin ni Lumagi na paglabag sa tax code ang hindi pagbabayad ng kaukulang buwis. Tiniyak din ng opisyal na bantay sarado nila ang mga tax compliance ng mga social media influencers na kanilang matutukoy na nag-endorso ng mga kandidato.
Nanawagan si Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla sa publiko na maging maingat sa paggamit ng internet. Ayon sa Justice Department, marami ang kaso ng underreporting dahil maraming mga bata ang hindi nalalaman na sila pala ay napagsasamantalahan na online. Kaya sa paglunsad ng Safer Internet Day ngayong taon sa ilalim ng National Coordination Center Against Online Sexual Abuse or Exploitation of Children and Child Sexual Abuse or Exploitation Materials, binigyan diin ng kalihim ang kahalagahan ng public awareness sa digital safety at responsableng paggamit ng internet. Ngayong taon, ang tema para sa selebrasyon ay nakatuon sa digital bayanihan para sa kabataang ligtas at protektado online. Paliwanag ni Remulla, layo ng Safer Internet Day na isulong ang isang safe digital space para sa mga kabataang Pilipino. Dagdag pa po ni Remulla, kasama ng ilan pang ahensya ng gobyerno ay bumabalangkas sa sila ng mga hakbang upang mapalakas ang pagsasampa ng kaso sa mga child offenders na gumagamit ng internet.
Nasa 131 mga overseas Filipino workers o OFWs mula Lebanon ang nakabalik na sa Pilipinas ngayong linggo dahil sa epekto ng umiiral na geopolitical tension sa Middle Eastern country ayon sa Department of Migrant Workers o DMW. Pagkakalooban nila ang mga repatriated Filipino ng financial assistance na galing sa DMW at iba pang ahensya ng gobyerno katulad ng Department of Health, Department of Social Welfare and Development o DSWD at Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. Sa kasalukuyan, nasa Alert Level 3 status ang Lebanon, ibig sabihin ay patuloy ang pagproseso ng voluntary repatriation ng Philippine Embassy sa Beirut. Mula sa bagong bilang ng mga Filipino repatriates ay magiging 1,579 OFWs at 68 dependents na ang ligtas na nakabalik mula sa Lebanon sa tulong ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas mula nang magsimula ang Israel-Hamas conflict noong October 2023.
As expected, yan po ang maikling pahayag ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa mga kasong kriminal na inirekomenda ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI na isampalaban sa kanya. Kanina ay inihain na ng NBI sa Department of Justice o DOJ mga reklamong inciting sedition at grave threats laban sa bise dahil sa umano'y pagbabanta nito sa first couple at kay House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Sinabi pa ni NBI Director Jaime Santiago, unanimous ang rekomendasyon ng investigation team ng NBI na sampahan ng kaso ang Vice Presidente.
5 abogado plus ako, tinimbang namin ng lahat. So finally, iisa ang naging findings namin, decision namin na mag-file ng case against the Vice President. Pagkaka-threaten niya sa Pangulo, no, na-incite yung kanyang mga followers, yung mga ibang tao na para bang gusto na nilang mag-alsa. Pero yung threat niya ay nalathala naman eh. Sinabi niya, no joke, 2 beses pa. So we take that seriously.
Dagdag ni Santiago, patas ang kanilang investigasyon at walang nag-utos sa NBI kung ano ang dapat ikaso laban kay VP Sara. Ibinatay din anya nila ang kanilang desisyon sa mga ebidensyang hawak nila. Samantala, ipauubayan ng NBI sa DOJ ang desisyon kung isa sa ilalim pa ba sa preliminary investigation ang kanilang mga reklamo. Gayunman ay tiwala si Santiago na sapat ang kanilang mga ebidensya upang suportahan ang mga reklamo laban sa bise.
Gusto ko ito yung manatili na pinagkakatiwalaan ng tao na kami ay political, straightforward. Wala sa aming nag-utos, wala sa aming nagdikta kung ano ang dapat gawin sa kaso.
Tiniyak naman ni DOJ spokesperson Mico Clavano na daraan sa ebaluasyon at preliminary investigation ang mga piskal ang mga reklamo upang madetermina kung may sapat na nga bang ebidensya para iakyat ito sa korte at makakuha ng conviction o kung dapat ba itong i-dismiss na lamang. Bibigyan din anya ng DOJ ang pagkakataon si VP Sara na sagutin ang mga reklamo at masusing reviewin din ng ahensya ang mga ebidensya na magkabilang panig. Kaugnay po nito ay nagbigay ng pahayag si Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero. Sinabi niyang hindi makakaapekto ang rekomendasyon ng NBI na kasuhan si VP Sara sa isasagawang impeachment trial ng Senado. Hindi rin anya gagamitin ng Senado ang ebidensya na ginamit ng NBI.
Kunin sa records ng Senate? Mukhang mauuna naman sila eh. Hindi kukunin ng Senado yan. Ulitin ko. An impeachment court, like any court, is a passive body. Wala kaming gagawin. Hindi to parang investigasyon ng Senado na mag-iiso kami ng sabpina para sa mga ebidensya o testigo na magpunta. Trabaho yan ng magkabilang panig ng prosecution at ng defense. Kung sakasakali na hilingin yan sa korte o sa NBI, at trabaho din nilang ipresenta yan. Nasa kabilang panig ang tutulan yan at sa parte ng Senado, nasa trabaho naman namin ay magdesisyon o magpasya kaugnay sa mga kahilingan tulad yan.
Alinsunod sa Memorandum Order No. 8 ng Department of Agriculture o DA ay pinagbabawal muna ang pag-angkat ng mga produktong hayop mula sa Germany. Ang temporary importation ban na ito ay ginawa ng DA upang maiwasan ang pagkalat ng foot and mouth disease o FMD sa Pilipinas. Ayon kay Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr., mananatiling import ban hanggat hindi nababawi ng Germany ang status nito sa World Organization for Animal Health na wala ng FMD sa kanilang bansa. Iniutos din ng kalihim na suspindihin ang pagbibigay ng sanitary at phytosanitary import clearance sa Germany. Matatandaan na ipinaalam ng Germany sa World Organization for Animal Health na may mga kumpirmadong kaso ng FMD sa mga domestic buffaloes sa Hoppegarten. Ang FMD ay isang nakahahawang viral infection na nakaapekto sa mga hayop, lalo na sa mga baka at iba pang mga hayop na cloven-hoofed gaya ng mga baboy, tupa, kambing at kalabaw.
Ilang araw matapos ang isinagawang joint exercises ng Pilipinas, Australia at ng Japan sa West Philippine Sea ay lumahok naman sa ikapitong Maritime Cooperative Activity o MMCA ang military forces ng Pilipinas, Estados Unidos at ng Canada. Ayon kay Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP Chief General Romeo Browner Jr., isinagawa ang MMCA sa loob ng Exclusive Economic Zone ng Pilipinas. Nagpakitang gilas ang Naval and Aerial Forces ng Pilipinas at ng mga kaalyado nito sa kanilang joint exercises upang ipakita ang kanilang suporta sa isang malaya at bukas na Indo-Pacific. Layon din ng MMCA na ito na pahusayin at palakasin ang kooperasyon at interoperability ng mga hukbong pandagat at panghimpapawid ng mga kalahok na bansa. Tiniyak ni Chief General Browner na ang joint exercises ay isinagawa sa paraang naaayon sa international law at isinaalang-alang ang kaligtasan ng nabigasyon maging ang karapatan at interes ng iba pang mga estado.
Yoon Suk-yeol, idinahila ng oposisyon para sa kanyang pagdeklara ng martial law.
King Abdullah II ng Jordan, binisita sa White House si Donald Trump.
At Elon Musk at Donald Trump tinawag na corrupt at incompetent ang United States Agency for International Development. Iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng mata ng Agila International.
Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Matapos umalis ng dalawang Navy ships ang Estados Unidos sa Taiwan, ay agad na nag-deploy ng Naval at Air Forces ang China sa paligid ng Taiwan. Lumahok sa exercises ang mga barko at fighter jets ng Eastern Theater Command. Ayon sa mga crew members ng Chinese Navy na Hawaii Bay warship, sa tuwing nagsasagawaan nila sila ng combat readiness at alert missions ay laging handa ang kanilang weapon systems na magpaputok sa anumang sandali.
我们在执行战备警巡任务的时候，都时刻保持舰满舷、弹满舱的状态。武器系统也是处于发射准备状态，随时可以激发。
Minomonitor ng Defense Ministry ng Taiwan ang military drills ng China at sinabing normal ang sitwasyon na ito. Una nang ibinalita na ikinagalit ng China ang pagpunta ng dalawang US Navy ships sa Taiwan dahil isang banta umano ito sa seguridad sa Taiwan Strait.
Sinisi ng suspendidong Pangulo ng South Korea na si Yoon Suk-yeol ang oposisyon sa kanyang desisyon na magdeklara ng martial law. Tinawag ni Yoon na malisyoso ang oposisyon at ang umano'y pagtanggi nito na palakpakan siya o kamayan man lamang ay pagpapakita lamang na may plano itong sirain ang kanyang pamahalaan. Nireklamo rin ni Yoon ang kawalan umano ng respeto ng oposisyon sa kanya noong siya pa ay namamahala. Isang basic principle anya ng pakikipagdialogo at kompromiso na siya bilang Pangulo ay pakinggan at palakpakan sa kanyang budget speech sa Parliament. Subalit, hindi na pumasok ng main hall ang opposition kung kaya't nagtalumpati siya sa harap ng isang half-empty Parliament. Inaasahan na ang pagdinig sa darating na Huwebes ay huling trial na ng impeachment case ni Yoon. Pagkatapos ito ay magpapasya ang Constitutional Court kung ibabalik sa pagkapangulo si Yoon o magkakaroon ng eleksyon sa loob ng 60 araw sa South Korea.
Kinumpirma ng White House na pinakawalan na ng Russia ang American teacher na kanilang ikinulong na si Mark Fogel.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. And I also should make mention that President Putin was very generous and statesmanlike in granting me a pardon.
Ayon kay National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, nagkaroon ng ugnayan sa Steve Witkoff, isa sa advisors ni Trump sa mga opisyal ng Russia para sa pagpapalaya kay Fogel. Si Fogel ay inaresto noong Agosto 2021 sa paliparan sa Moscow matapos mahulihan umano ng cannabis o marijuana. Depensa ng kampo nito, inireseta ng kanyang doktor ang cannabis bilang gamot sa kanyang pananakit sa likod. Halos 10 taon itong nagtuturo sa Anglo-American School sa Moscow, kung saan ang mga estudyante nito ay mga anak ng mga US diplomats. Sa ngayon ay sinalubong siya ng personal ni President Trump kasama ang ibang matataas na opisyal ng White House. Iginiit naman ni Trump na maganda ang kanilang naging usapan ni Russian President Vladimir Putin upang mapalaya si Fogel. Ipinagmalaki rin ito na maaari itong maging mitsa ng pagtatapos ng Russia-Ukraine war.
Very fair, very fair, very reasonable, not like deals you've seen over the years. They were very fair, and I think that's going to lead, and somebody else is being released tomorrow that you will know of, but we wanted to get this done, very important, and Steve wanted to actually fly over and get Mark and get him home properly, because it could be a pretty tough trip. I think there's goodwill in terms of the war. You know, 1.5 million soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on, so we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big, important part of getting the war over with Ukraine. And we appreciate President Putin's what he did. He was able to pull it off for you, right? He was able to pull it off. We think, and you're here, and you're here. So.
Gumawa ng resolusyon ng United Nations Human Rights Council na nag-uutos sa armadong grupang March 23 Movement o M23 na agarang umatras sa mga okupadong teritoryo ng Democratic Republic of the Congo o DRC. Narito po ang balita mula kay NET25 correspondent Marjorie Quintos.
Noong Biyernes sa Geneva, nagsagawa ng natatanging sesyon ng Konseho ng UN upang tugunan ng lumalalang human rights situation sa silangang DRC. Dinaluhan ito ng mga kinatawan ng dose-dosenang bansa at ilang non-governmental organizations. Naroon din ang mga opisyal ng UN. Batay sa resolusyon, kailangang bumuo agad ng isang investigation team upang suriin ang matinding mga pagsalangsang sa karapatang pantao, gayon din ang mga paglabag sa international humanitarian law sa rehiyon. Ayon kay UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk, lalong pinasama ng kaguluhan ngayon sa silangang DRC ang matagal ng humanitarian crisis doon. Anya, nasa 3,000 na ang namamatay at higit 2,800 na ang nasaktan mula ng pasukin ng M23 ang Goma noong 26 ng Enero. Hinimok ni Turk ang lahat ng partido na magbabang armas at pagpatuloy ang pag-uusap. Gayon din ang sumunod sa international human rights and humanitarian laws. Nanawagan din si Turk para sa malayang akses upang makapasok ang humanitarian assistance sa mga apektadong populasyon. Anya, kung walang aksyon, lalong sasama ang sitwasyon ng mga naninirahan sa silangan, pati na ang nasa paligid nito. Mula noong Enero ngayong taon, mabilis na lumala ang sitwasyon ng seguridad sa silangang DRC. Pinatindi ng mga puwersang laban sa gobyerno ang kanilang opensiba sa hilagang Kivu na nauwi sa pagkontrol nila sa ilang bayan doon. Dahil sa matinding karahasan, maraming sibilyan na ang namatay at nasaktan. Daan-daan ang lumikas at lumala ng husto ang krisis pang sangkatauhan sa rehiyon. Marjorie Quintos para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tinanggap ni US President Donald Trump si King Abdullah II ng Jordan.
And if you'd like to say a few words, and thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for having us, and so short after your inauguration, I think just as a testament to what you said is a special relationship between our two countries and the personal relationship of friendship and trust between the two of us. Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here, and as you said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions ahead.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Si King Abdullah ay siyang unang Arab leader na bumisita sa White House mula nang maupo sa pwesto si Trump. Ilan sa mga tinalakay ng dalawang opisyal ay ang pagpapalakas ng relasyon ng Estados Unidos at ng Jordan. Hinikayat din ni Trump ang hari ng Jordan na pumayag na tanggapin nila ang mga Palestinong mapapalaya sa Gaza sa kanilang teritoryo. Bilang tugon ay sinabi ni Abdullah na handa ang Jordan na tanggapin ang nasa 2,000 mga bata mula sa Gaza.
We we have to keep in mind that there is a plan from Egypt and the Arab countries. We're being invited by Mohammed bin Salman to discussions in Riyadh. I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody? Right. Obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to my people of Jordan. And we're going to have some interesting discussions today. I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible, and then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on the Gaza challenges.
So
I want to tell you, excuse me, wait, just please. I didn't know that, what you just said, 2,000 children with cancer or other problems, and that's really a beautiful gesture. That's really good, and we appreciate it. And we'll be working on the rest with Egypt. I think you're going to see some great progress. I think with Jordan, you're going to see some great progress. 3 of us, and we'll have some others helping, and we're going to have some others at a very high level helping, and the whole thing will come. It's not a complex thing to do. And with the United States being in control of that piece of land, a fairly large piece of land, you're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time. And the Palestinians, or the people that live now in Gaza, will be living beautifully in another location. They're going to be living safely. They're not going to be killed, murdered, and having to leave every 10 years, because I've been watching this for so many years. It's nothing but trouble.
Nanindigan si US President Donald Trump na handa ang kanyang bansa na sakupin ang Gaza. Ngunit hindi sumagot ang hari ng Jordan ukol sa issue. Sinabi lamang niya na umarapat lamang nakausapin niya ang kanyang mga kasamahan as Arab League.
Mr. President, how do you know that the Palestinians don't want to leave their land? Some people say this is ethnic cleansing. You won't be able to force them to leave their land.
We're moving them to a beautiful location where they have new homes, where they can live safely, where they'll have doctors and medical and all of those things, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah, any questions?
King Abdullah, what do you think about the U.S. taking over the Gaza Strip? Do you want to see the U.S. own the Gaza Strip?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, the president is looking at Egypt coming to present their plan. As I said, we will be in Saudi Arabia to discuss how we can work with the president and with the United States. So I think let's wait until the Egyptians can come and present to the president and not get ahead of ourselves.
And is there a parcel of land in Jordan that you're willing to have Palestinians?
Well, I think what we said, I have to look at the best interests of my country. I think the president is very happy that we do this thing with 2,000 children as quickly as possible.
Naniniwala kasi si Trump na magiging mapayapa ang buhay ng mga Palestino kung sila ay titira sa ibang lugar at hindi na sa Gaza. At sa ilang okasyon na rin ay pinagmalaki niya ang kanyang kakayahan sa real estate.
Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
And Mr. President, would you seek to personally develop property in Gaza after this happens?
No, I've had a great career in real estate.
Mr. President,
You know, when you've done what I've done in the last number of years, including the 4 years that we should have been doing something else, frankly, because people see that now for sure. But when you've done what I've done, you can just do more good for people when you're president.
Thank you.
Come on, guys, quickly, please. Thank you.
Nagsagawa ng kilos protesta ang mga residente ng Jordan laban sa mga pahayag ni Donald Trump ukol sa kanyang Gaza occupation plan.
فلسطين هي الفلسطينيين والتهجير القسري يعتبر جريمة إنسانية وجريمة دولية بحق الفلسطينيين الذين لهم سيادة على أراضيهم ولا يحق لترامب ولا يحق لنتنياهو ولا لأي كان أن يقوم بتهجيرهم من أراضيهم ووضع وطن بديل لهم. تهجير الفلسطينيين هي قضية خطيرة جدا تقضي على القضية الفلسطينية التي ستبقى دائما هي القضية المحورية التي يدافع عنها الأردن.
Nangyari po ito matapos ang ilang beses na pagpupumilit ni Trump na papayagin ang hari na kupkupin ang mga Palestinong mawawala ng tirahan sa kanyang planong sakupin ang teritoryo ng Gaza. Nagpakita ng suporta ang mga mamamayan ng Jordan para sa paninindigan ni King Abdullah II laban sa plano ni Donald Trump ukol sa pagpayag sa paninirahan ng Palestinians sa kanyang bansa. Nagmatigas naman si Presidente Trump kung saan sinabi niyang itutuloy niya ang kanyang plano sa kabila ng kaliwat kanang oposisyon mula sa iilang bansa sa Middle East. Sa iilang okasyon na rin ay pinagmalaki ni Trump ang laki na suporta na kanilang ibinigay taon-taon sa Egypt at Gaza, isang pahayag na ikinababahala naman ng mga eksperto dahil ginagamit ito ng mga presidente bilang pabuya umano para umayon ang dalawang bansa sa kanyang plano.
Gaza. We'll build beautiful communities for the 1.9 million people. We'll build beautiful communities, safe communities. Could be 5, 6, could be 2, but we'll build safe communities a little bit away from where they are, where all of this danger is. In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them, because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could ever. It's not habitable. It will be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. You know, we give them billions and billions of dollars a year.
Nagbabala si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu na ipagpapatuloy niya ang giyera sa Gaza kung hindi papakawala ng Hamas ang mga bihag.
לאור הודעת החמאס על ההחלטה שלו להפר את ההסכם ולא לשחרר את החטופים שלנו, הנחיתי אמש את צה"ל לצבור כוחות בתוך רצועת עזה ומסביב לרצועת עזה. הפעולה הזאת מתבצעת בשעות אלה, היא תושלם בזמן הקרוב ביותר.
Ito ang kanyang reaksyon sa naging pahayag ng Hamas na ititigil muna nila ang pagpapalaya ng mga bihag dahil sa ginawang paglabag ng Israel sa ceasefire deal. Dagdag pa nito na kapag hindi napalaya ang mga bihag ng hanggang Sabado kung saan nagtatapos ang unang bahagi ng ceasefire ay hindi magdadalawang isip ang Israel na ituloy ang matinding labanan sa Hamas. Hindi anya titigil ang Israeli Defense Force na lusubin ang kuta ng Hamas hanggang sa sila ay maubos.
סיימתי כעת דיון מעמיק של 4 שעות בקבינט המדיני-ביטחוני. כולנו הבנו תרעומת מהמצב המזעזע של 3 חטופינו ששוחררו בשבת האחרונה. כולנו גם בירכנו על הדרישה של הנשיא טראמפ לשחרור חטופינו עד שבת בצהריים, וכולנו גם בירכנו על החזון המהפכני של הנשיא לעתיד עזה.
Magugunit ang sinabi ng Hamas na napuno na sila sa paulit-ulit na paglabag ng Israel sa ceasefire na ipinatupad noon pang Enero 19. Ilan sa mga paglabag na tinukoy ng Hamas ay ang patuloy na pag-atake ng Israel sa Gaza, ang hindi pagpayag na makapasok ang 600 na aid trucks, ang hindi pagpayag na 200,000 tents na itayo, ganun din ang hindi pagtugon na dapat ay mayroong 50 mga pasyente na dapat dalhin sa pagamutan kada araw. Hinarang din ng Israel ang mga heavy equipment na siyang magsasaayos sana ng mga nasirang gusali sa Gaza.
ההחלטה שהעברתי בקבינט פה אחד היא זאת. אם חמאס לא יחזיר את חטופינו עד שבת בצהריים, הפסקת האש תיפסק וצה"ל יחזור ללחימה עצימה עד להכרעה סופית של החמאס.
Nagpahayag ng lubhang pagmamalasakit para sa Europa si US Vice President J.D. Vance nang nakipagpulong ito kay European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Nagbabalik si Marjorie Quintos para sa detalye ng balita.
Matapos magdesisyon ang Estados Unidos na magpataw ng 25% taripa sa lahat ng inaangkat na bakal at aluminyo, sinabi ni US Vice President J.D. Vance na pag-uusapan din nila ni European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen ang mga isyu ng kalakalan at ekonomiya. Sa kanyang pakikipagpulong kay von der Leyen at kay Commission Vice President Kaja Kallas sa tahanan ng US Ambassador sa Paris, ipinahayag ni Vance ang saloobin ng Administrasyong Trump para sa Europe.
The President of the European Commission and the former President of Estonia, who we met with when I was a senator just a couple of months ago, it feels like. But we're going to talk a lot about, I'm sure, some trade issues, some economic issues, and the Trump administration has been very clear that we care a lot about Europe. We see a lot of economic relationship to build upon with Europe, and we also want to make sure that we're actually engaged in a security partnership that's good for both Europe and the United States. So we're thrilled with the conversation. We're looking forward to it.
Samantala, sinabi naman ni von der Leyen na nagustuhan niya ang optimismo ni Vance ukol sa artificial intelligence at talumpati nito sa summit. Anya, ang optimismong ito ay dapat din sanang tumagos sa relasyon ng dalawang bansa.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Pleasure. And indeed, I had the pleasure today to listen to your inspirational speech at the AI Action Summit. And I like very much the part where you said we should look with optimism at artificial intelligence. I think the same goes for our transatlantic relations. We should look with optimism at our transatlantic relations that are deep and strong bonds. So very much looking forward to working with you and with the President.
Marjorie Quintos para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Binansagan ni US President Donald Trump at tech mogul Elon Musk ang US Foreign Aid Agency na USAID bilang corrupt at incompetent.
For the sake of the country, I hope that the person that's in charge and the other people that report to me that are in charge are allowed to do the right thing, namely make sure everything's honest, legitimate, and competent. But we're looking at just, when you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military, we're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas. But the USAID is really corrupt. I'll tell you, it's corrupt. It's incompetent and it's really corrupt. And I can't imagine a judge saying, well, it may be corrupt, but you don't have the right. You got elected to look over the country and to, as we say, make America great again, but you don't have the right to go and look and see whether or not things are right that they're paying or that things are honest that they're paying.
Sa isang press conference, pinagtibay ni Trump ang kanyang commitment sa pamamahala at iginiit na naihalal siya para tiyakin ang katapatan o integridad sa gobyerno ng Amerika. Sinabi rin ni Trump na ang kanyang pagbusisi sa gobyerno ay hindi lamang sa USAID, kundi saklaw din dito ang ilang pang sektor katulad ng edukasyon at ng militar.
We have massive amounts of fraud that we caught. I think we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already in, 2 weeks?
Yes.
And it's going to go to numbers that you're not going to believe. And
So that's something where we work closely with the State Department and Secretary Rubio. And we have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention. Yes, correct. And we are moving fast, so we will make mistakes, but we'll also fix the mistakes very quickly. So,
do you see it as a worthy cause, USAID?
I think that there are some worthy things, but overall, if you say what is the bang for the buck, I would say it was not very good. And there was far too much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections in ways that I think were dubious and do not stand the light of day.
Susunod, Mexico umalma sa mga taripa ng Estados Unidos.
SpaceX napiling kontraktor para sa major mission ng NASA.
At dalawang bagong manlalaro napili para makilahok sa NBA All-Star Game. Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik na mata ng Agila International.
Discover the men and women who have made significant strides in leading their enterprises as they get recognized here at the Business Manual CEO Awards. Be inspired by their leadership journey amidst challenges. Learn how they emerge as disruptors in their industries and make the impact they make.
We want to look for innovation in the industry. Also, brand equity, how they built their image. And we also have contribution to society. A lot of people trying to qualify. So, you know that these guys dumaan sa butas ng karayom para maging awarding ngayong gabi.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
Ngayong Sabado, sa Motorcycle Republic.
sobrang technical, sobrang hindi mo inaasahan, idadaan mo yung motor sa mga ganong klaseng ruta.
Hirap. Pang enduro bike to.
This is Motorcycle Republic, tuwing Sabado, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Nagbabalik ang mata ng Agila International sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Higit sa 20 katao ang namatay dahil sa malawakang pagbaha sa Bolivia, bunsod na malakas na pagbuhos ng ulan. Ayon kay Deputy Minister of Civil Defense Juan Carlos Calvimontes, may isang individual rin ang nawawala. Anya, 8 sa 9 na rehiyon sa Bolivia ang lubos na naaapektuhan ng sama ng panahon. Samantala, inaasahan ng Bolivian Meteorology Service na magpapatuloy pa ang ganitong malalakas na pag-ulan sa Bolivia hanggang sa buwan ng Marso.
Dinala po sa paggamutan ng 2 lalaki na na-hit and run ang isang kulay gray na SUV sa lansangan ng Yonkers sa New York State. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, tatawid lang sana ang isang tatay kasama ang kanyang 12 anyos na anak sa isang pedestrian ng naganap ang hit and run attack. Nagtamo ng pinsala sa tagiliran ng bata habang nagtamo naman ng injuries ang tatay sa kanyang kaliwang binti at tuhod. Nagsagawa na ang Yonkers Police Department ng investigasyon ukol sa insidente. Matapos ang 4 na araw ay nakilala ang suspect bilang si Dylan Grant, isang 18 anyos na lalaki na tumutuloy sa Mount Vernon. Nahaharap ang binatang suspect sa 2 kaso ng reckless driving resulting to physical injury and misdemeanor.
Trauma naman ang inabot ng isang babae sa Brazil nang bigla na lamang nagliyab ang kanyang likod. Ayan po, kita sa nakalap na security camera footage ang babae ng nakasuot na kulay blue na pantalon at bising-busy sa kanyang pamimili sa isang store sa Annapolis. Mapapansin, nakausap ng babae ang pinaniniwalaang asawa nito at matapos ang ilang saglit ay may sumiklab na apoy sa likod ng babae. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, sumabog ang cellphone ng babae na nakalagay sa back pocket ng pantalon nito. Nagtamo ang babae ng 1st to 2nd degree burn sa kanyang kamay, braso at likod. Kaagad namang naisugod sa pagamutan ng babae para sa medikal na atensyon. At batay po sa investigasyon ng mga otoridad, ang device na sumabog ay isang Motorola E32 model. Nakikipag-ugnayan na ang Motorola sa kampo ng babae para magsagawa ng analysis sa sumabog na phone. At sa kabila nito, naninindigan naman ang Motorola na lahat ng kanilang mga produkto ay highly manufactured para sa seguridad ng kanilang mga consumers.
Muling nagbabalik ang tao ng Westminster Dog Show sa Jacob Javits Convention Center sa New York para itampok ang iba't ibang pedigree ng aso. Ngayong taon, higit sa 2,500 ng mga aso and 201 breeds ang bibida para makuha ang best prize. Ang Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show ay ang second oldest sporting event sa Estados Unidos kasunod ng Kentucky Derby Horse Race. Nagsimula ang prestihiyosong dog show na ito taong 1870s pa mula sa pagkukwentuhan ng mga sporting gentlemen sa Westminster Hotel sa Manhattan.
Sa isang press briefing, ay sinabi ni Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ko Ja-kun na hindi kasangkot ang Wuhan Institute of Virology sa paglikha o pag-leak ng COVID-19 virus. Hindi rin anya nagsagawa ng isang gain-of-function research ang Wuhan Institute. Ginawa ng China ang pahayag matapos muling lumabas ang ilang ulat na sinadya umano nitong gawin at i-leak ang COVID-19 virus. Giit ni spokesperson Ko, dapat nagsagawa ng seryosong self-examination ng US at huwag nitong sisihin ang iba para takasan ang responsibilidad nito.
方已经多次阐述在新冠病毒溯源问题上的立场。溯源是一个科学问题，应当秉持科学精神，由科学家来做出判断。 实验室泄露极不可能，是中国世界卫生组织联合专家组在实地走访武汉相关实验室，并同相关科研人员深入交流的基础上得出的权威科学结论，得到了国际社会和科学界的广泛认可。
谢谢专业人士同样是记者提问。
Bumagsak ang shares ng mga steelworkers ng Europa at ng Asia. Ito ay matapos ipahayag ni US President Donald Trump na magpapataw siya ng 25% taripa sa lahat ng steel at aluminum imports. Si JC Yumol para sa detalye.
Bukod sa 25% na taripa sa mga angkat ng bakal at aluminum na papasok ng Estados Unidos, nagbitaw rin ng pahayag si Pangulong Donald Trump na tatapatan din nito ng malawakang taripa ang mga bansang nag-aangkat naman ng produkto mula sa Estados Unidos. Ang pinakamalaking pinanggagalingan ng steel imports ng US ay ang Brazil, Canada at Mexico. Sinusundan ito ng South Korea at Vietnam. Sinasabing halos 80% ng pangunahing aluminum imports ng US ay mula sa Canada sa unang 11 buwan ng 2024. Marami ang nagbabala na ang aksyong ito ni Trump ay makakapinsala sa ekonomiya ng US dahil sa pagtaas ng presyo ng mga materyales na ginagamit nito. Sa South Korea naman, nanawagan ang Industry Ministry sa mga mambabakal na pag-usapan kung papaanong mababawasan ang epekto ng taripa. Bumaksak ang shares ng Hyundai Steel ng halos 3% sa gitna ng malawakang pagbaksak ng shares ng South Korea steelmakers. Samantala, tinamaan din ng shares ng European steelmakers na bumubuo naman ng 15% ng imports papasok ng US. Sinabi ng European Commission na walang hustisya ang pagpapataw ng taripa sa mga ine-export nito. Ayon sa EU, tutugon ito upang protektahan ang interes ng mga negosyo nito, mga manggagawa at mga mamimili. JC Yumul para sa Mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, On Point.
Umalma ang Mexico sa 25% taripa na ipinapataw ng Estados Unidos sa bakal at aluminum. Rose Papa Angeles po para sa balita niyan.
Noong Martes, sinabi ni Mexican Economy Minister Marcelo Ebrard na hindi makatuwiran ang 25% tariff ng US sa bakal at aluminyo. Ani Ebrard, mas maraming ini-import na bakal ang Mexico mula sa US kaysa sa ini-export nito.
México importa más acero de Estados Unidos que lo que exporta. No hay tal 1,600% de incremento. Si nos regresamos al anterior, por favor. Entonces, no se justifica esa tarifa. Estoy hablando de aluminio y de acero. Bien. Quiero ponerles un video, si me lo autoriza la señora presidenta, para explicar por qué no nos gustan las tarifas. Primero, es injusto, de acuerdo a los propios considerandos del presidente Trump. Porque nosotros tenemos, repito, más importación de Estados Unidos que exportación.
Sinuportahan ni Ebrard ang pahayag nito sa pamamagitan ng pagtukoy sa isang graph mula sa US Census Bureau. Batay sa tala, mula noong 2022, bumaba ang bilang ng in-export na bakal ng Mexico na pumasok sa US. Samantalang tumaas naman ang bilang ng in-import na bakal ng Mexico mula sa Estados Unidos sa parehong peryodo. Noong Lunes, itinaas na sa 25% ni Pangulong Donald Trump ang taripa sa bakal at aluminyo na walang pagtatanggi. Layo ni Trump na sa pagitan ng mga taripang ito ay matulungan ang naghihikahos na industriya sa US. Subalit ayon sa mga eksperto, magmimit siya ito ng malawakang trade war. Halos ang kapat ng ginagamit na bakal ng US ay imported. Kasama sa pinakamalaking suppliers nito ng bakal ay ang Mexico, Canada at Brazil. Rose Papa Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, On Point.
Napagdesisyonan ng National Aeronautics and Space Administration o NASA na piliin ang SpaceX na maging contractor nila para sa Pandora mission. Ayon sa NASA, ang kontrata na ito ay nagkakahalaga ng kabuuang $300 million. Layo ng Pandora mission na magsagawa ng pag-aaral at pananaliksik sa 20 exoplanets at kanilang mga host stars para alamin ang epekto ng bituin sa obserbasyon ng ahensya sa atmosfera ng mga naturang exoplanets. Inaasahan na mula sa isang taon ng pagsisimula ng misyon ay maoobserbahan na ng ahensya ang mga exoplanets ng 10 beses. Ang Pandora ay isang satellite kung saan ay may naka-install na telescope dito para obserbahan ang mga celestial bodies sa space. Naniniwala naman ang NASA na mula sa mga data na nakalap ng James Webb Space Telescope ay magiging matagumpay ang Pandora mission.
Sa Global Conference ng Artificial Intelligence or AI ay sinabi ni Prime Minister Justin Trudeau na dapat magkaroon ng regulasyon sa AI upang matiyak na ang mga benepisyo nito ay hindi lamang para sa mga lubhang mayayaman. Ang layunin anya ng AI regulation ay hindi para ihinto ang pag-unlad nito, ngunit dapat lamang na magkaroon ng guardrails, transparency and accountability. Binigyan diin ni Trudeau na huwag hayaan ang AI na magpakalat ng disinformation.
We need to make sure that the profits, the power, the benefits that come from this new technology are fairly shared. We've already seen the anger and division that grows when people feel they're left out of progress. We, governments, the private sector, and civil society need to think responsibly about how AI is shaping the world. We cannot let AI pollute social media with empty slop and cunning disinformation. We cannot let it grow even more the rifts within us, rifts that are already so deep between the haves, the have-nots, and the have-yachts.
Sinabi ng CEO ng OpenAI na katawa-tawa ang alok ni Elon Musk na bilhin ang kanyang kumpanya. Si Pilita para sa report.
Binigyang diin ni OpenAI CEO Sam Altman na hindi pinagbibili ang non-profit na nagpapatakbo sa kumpanya. Ang pahayag na ito ni Altman ay nang tanungin siya sa AI Summit sa Paris ukol sa alok ni Elon Musk na bilhin ito.
Can you react to Elon Musk's offer?
I have nothing new to say. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, how so?
The company is not for sale.
Sorry?
The company is not for sale. It's like another one of his, tactics to try to mess with us. But
what about the amount he offered?
I have not paid it. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Isang grupo ng businesses na pinamumunuan ni Musk ang nagsabing nag-alok ito ng $97.4 billion na bilhin ang non-profit na kumukontrol sa OpenAI. Ito ay sinasabing panibagong banat ng bilyonaryo upang harangan ang artificial intelligence startup na magtransisyon bilang isang for-profit firm. Pilita para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Naging maganda naman ang pagsisimula ng Gilas Pilipinas ng kailang training camp para sa third window ng 2025 FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. Itong Martes ay nagsimula ang kanilang pagsasanay sa Inspire Sports Academy sa Laguna. Kabilang sa pinaghahandaan ng national basketball team ay ang exhibition game sila sa Doha, Qatar. Ilan sa mga dumalo sa nasabing ensayo ay sina Dwight Ramos, AJ Edu, RJ Abarientos, Ralph Ku, Carl Tamayo at Kevin Kimbao. Kasama rin na dumalo ay sina assistant coaches Sean Chambers at Richard Del Rosario, gayon din si Al Francis Chua. Sa araw ng Biyernes, magsisimula ang friendly games habang sa February 20 ay makakaharap nila ang Chinese Taipei habang ang New Zealand naman ay nakaschedule sa February 23. Magugunitang tiyak na ang pagpasok ng Gilas Pilipinas sa FIBA Asia Cup na gaganapin sa Saudi Arabia sa buwan ng Agosto matapos na makamit ang 4-0 win-loss record sa Group B.
Napili sina Trae Young ng Atlanta Hawks at Kyrie Irving ng Dallas Mavericks para pumalit kay Giannis Antetokounmpo at Anthony Davis sa NBA All-Star Game. Si Sina Davis at Antetokounmpo kasi nagtamo ng injury kaya hindi sila makakapaglaro ng ilang linggo. Nakalagay sa lineup si Young sa team Chuck ni Charles Barkley habang si Irving ay papalit kay Davis sa team Shaq ni Shaquille O'Neal. Ito na ang pang-apat na All-Star game ni Young kung saan may average ito na 23.5 points at 11.4 assists per game. Habang si Irving naman ay merong average na 24.1 points per game. Gaganapin ang All-Star game sa Chase Center sa San Francisco ngayong Pebrero 16. Marami ang nagalit na fans dahil pinahinto ng mga pulis ang street performance ni Grammy Awards song or singer-songwriter Ed Sheeran sa Bengaluru. Ayon sa mga witnesses, kumakanta si Sheeran ng Shape of You nang lapitan siya ng isang pulis at i-unplug nito ang kanyang mikropono. Sabi ng pulis, walang approval o permit ang British singer sa pagkanta nito sa Bengaluru na sinasabing one of the busiest streets. Hindi raw pinayagan si Sheeran na kumanta sa kalsada dahil mabilis dumami ang mga tao rito. Sa ibang balita, binuksan sa Tokyo, Japan ang isang art exhibit para muling buhayin ang mga artwork ni Katsushika Hokusai. Ayon sa digital imagery firm na Ars Techni, gumagamit ang exhibit ng cutting-edge technology para sa mas immersive na karanasan ng mga bisita. Layunan niya ng ganitong exhibit na ipamalas ang yamang kultural ng mga sining ni Hokusai. Ilan sa mga obra maestra ni Hokusai na muling binuhay ang mga ukiyo-e artworks katulad ng mga Great Wave of Kanagawa at isang depiction ni Hokusai sa Mount Fuji. Ang exhibit ay bukas sa publiko hanggang June 1 sa Tokyo Plaza, Shibuya.
Binuksan po sa kabisera ng Italy ang isang museo para itampok sa publiko ang iba't ibang balloon artworks. Ayon sa organizers ng exhibit, naglalaman ang museo ng maraming sculptures at floating installations para mag-enjoy naman ang mga bisita. Dinisenyo nila ang mga exhibit mula sa tema na wonder and playfulness. Bukas naman ang museo hanggang March 30, 2025. Kaya mo ba gumawa ng gano'n, Nina?
Tatry ko.
Nung bata
Mahirap
tayo,
magsabi agad na, kaya.
yung bata
Pero
tayo,
kung
nakakagawa tayo ng balloon art. Kasi uso po dati yung plastic balloon. Yung
Ay,
iniikot-ikot
favorite ko
natin
yan.
yung sa parang maliit na straw. Ewan ko yung mga kamag-aman
Magaling ka ba
ko
dyan?
na-
Gano'ng kalaki?
Ay, oo.
Eto, Ricky.
Mas malaki pa sa ulo ko. Kaya ko.
Tama, di ba? Yun yung, tapos pag medyo nabutas ito, tatagpi-tagpi. Gaganon.
Tapos nagka-shape na siya.
Tapos
Nagka-shape na.
magulo na yung itsura niya.
Tapos
pero
nag-elepante
buo
na
pa
siya
din.
kasi
Tama.
kakatagpi-tagpi mo.
Pero di ba, yan ang mga bagay na naranasan natin ng bata tayo na hindi magiging pareho sa karanasan ng mga bata po ngayon.
Siguro
Pero I guess masaya either way.
Oo.
Kanya-kanya lang talaga.
Sana na maranasan din ng mga bata, pero sana rin yung mga, kung may toxic chemicals man noon, sana...
Medyo na safety sila.
Pero mukhang wala namang effect.
Yun ang bentahin naman nila. Okay pa naman tayo.
Okay naman
Nandito
po
pa
ang
tayo
buong Generation
nagbabalita.
X at mga millennials. O, di ba?
Tama.
Mahuhusay pa rin kami.
Tama.
Tignan nga natin. I'm sure naabutan din yun ni ating ang susunod na kasama.
Oo.
Tarungin naman natin siya maya-maya kung ano yung shape naman ang nabuo
Ng
niya.
kanyang nabuo gamit ang
Ako,
plastic
elepante,
balloon.
ikaw.
Sinadya mo ba ang tanong? O nangyari na lang?
Hindi,
Bigla, wait
nangyari lang.
Parang
Kasi
mukhang
ayoko
elepante yata
mabutas.
ito. Siyempre, ang go lagi bola. Pero sabi mo nga, kung saan sa ang shape na napunta, sa
Ay, naging art
kakatagpi
na
ng
siya, no?
kakasara ng mga nabubutas.
Naging art
Oo.
na.
Eh kasi naman pag sobrang laki, talagang it's likely, it's bound to have, holes elsewhere.
Yeah, so you have to really make tagpi-tagpi.
Oo, yun ang mga, yan kasi, titingnan mo simpleng pagpapaloba ng plastic balloon, pero ano yan, nagpapatibay. Yan ang isa sa mga bumubuo ng karakter ng isang bata.
Akala ko ng balloon.
Be someday. Karakter ng balloon na nagiging elepante. Na-miss mo ang elepante, Ricky. Aminin mo yan.
Naku, dapat pala kung nandyan na yung museo sa Italy dati, baka kinuha na tayo dyan. Kinuha na yung mga pieces natin. Sige, Direk. Paalam po muna kami ngayon, ha? Pero tandaan, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami ni Nina para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi po. Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito pa rin po ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina Enrique. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. President Donald Trump has proposed that the U.S. take control of the Gaza Strip, aiming to redevelop it into a resort destination. This plan has faced opposition from Jordan and other Arab nations due to concerns over the potential permanent displacement of 2 million Palestinians.
It's not a complex thing to do. We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
Some people say this is ethnic cleansing. You won't be able to force them to leave the land.
We're moving them to a beautiful location where they have new homes, where they can live safely, where they'll have doctors and medical.
Well, again, this is something that we, as Arabs, will be coming to the United States with something that we're going to talk about later.
President Marcos Jr. and Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet met at Malacanang to strengthen ties and signed 8 key agreements aimed at boosting trade, investment, and food security.
I am pleased that we have come to an agreement to pursue stronger collaboration in agriculture and in agribusiness.
Our multilateral cooperations, Cambodia underlines the importance of upholding ASEAN unity and centrality, especially at times of conflict and geopolitical dynamics. As the Philippines assumes ASEAN chairmanship in 2026, I assured President Marcos of Cambodia full support.
Russia has released American teacher Mark Fogel after nearly 4 years in detention. Fogel from Pennsylvania was arrested in Moscow for possessing medically prescribed marijuana. The terms of his release remain unclear, but the Trump administration suggests this could signal progress toward ending the conflict in Ukraine.
In terms of the war, you know, 1.5 million soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on, so we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big, important part of getting the war over.
Plus, shoppers across the U.S. are facing higher egg prices and purchase limits due to a tightening supply chain exacerbated by an ongoing bird flu outbreak. And the news starts now. Back to our lead story here on NET25 World News. President Trump has unveiled his plan for Gaza during talks with Jordan's King Abdullah at the White House. The proposal faces opposition from Jordan and other Arab nations over concerns it would permanently displace 2 million Palestinians. Tamasai likeness for more.
While the two were in the Oval Office, King Abdullah sidestepped questions on whether Jordan would take in displaced Palestinians.
Well, I think what we said, I have to look at the best interests of my country. I think the president is very happy that we do this thing with 2,000 children as quickly as possible.
King Abdullah says Jordan will accept 2,000 Palestinian children suffering from cancer and other serious illnesses for treatment. But Trump insists all Palestinians from Gaza should be relocated to Jordan and Egypt.
And I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Jordan. I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Egypt. We may have someplace else, but I think when we finish our talks, we'll have a place where they're going to live very happily and very safely.
That's not likely to happen. Hours after the meeting with Trump, King Abdullah posted on X that the unified Arab position is that Gaza will be rebuilt without displacing the Palestinians. He adds that addressing the dire humanitarian situation should be the priority for all. King Abdullah is in a tough position. Jordan relies on the generosity of the United States. It's received billions of dollars in foreign aid since the 1950s. Trump responded to a question of whether he would cut the financial lifeline to the region.
No, I think we'll do something. I don't have to threaten with money. We contribute a lot of money to Jordan and to Egypt, by the way, a lot, to both. But I don't have to threaten that. I think we're above that. I do believe we're above that.
But the president presses on with his dream of owning Gaza. He now says the U.S. will not be buying the territory, but will just take it, leading to this bizarre exchange with reporters.
You said before that the U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
It's not likely Arab countries, and for that matter, most of the rest of the world, will recognize that authority that Trump claims to have. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi says there's an Egyptian-led Arab plan to rebuild Gaza without displacing the Palestinians. When asked by reporters whether he wanted to see the U.S. own Gaza, King Abdullah diplomatically deflected.
Well, I think, as I said earlier, the president is looking at Egypt coming to present their plan. As I said, we will be in Saudi Arabia to discuss how we can work with the president and with the United States. So I think let's wait until the Egyptians can come and present it to the president and not get ahead of ourselves.
But for now, any talk of rebuilding Gaza may be moot. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is on the verge of ending a ceasefire with Hamas. He says unless the hostages are released by noon Saturday, fighting will resume. Netanyahu has been egged on by Trump, who said on Monday that the ceasefire should be canceled if the hostages are not freed. Any hope of ending this conflict soon so that Gaza and his people can rebuild their territory seems to be fading quickly. Thomas I. Likeness, NET25 World News.
Mark Fogel, a Pennsylvania teacher, has finally returned to the United States after spending 3.5 years in a Russian prison. Fogel was arrested in August 2021 at Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport when a police dog alerted authorities to his luggage, which contained a small amount of medically prescribed marijuana. Despite this, he was sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. This morning, Fogel's 95-year-old mother, Malfine, received a surprise call from her son, sharing the joyous news of his release. She expressed her overwhelming relief and anticipation, stating, "I just need to get him home and hug him and hold him. There'll be a lot of tears." The White House confirmed that Fogel's release was part of a negotiated exchange with Russia. President Trump tweeted about his promise to Fogel's mother during a rally. "When I saw Mark Fogel's mother at a rally, she said, 'If you win, will you get my son out?' I promised her. She's 95 years old, and I said, 'We'll get him out.' We got him out pretty quickly." When asked about the specifics of what the U.S. offered in return, Trump did not provide details but emphasized the importance of ending the war in Ukraine.
What were the terms of this deal, Mr. President?
Very fair, very, very fair, very reasonable, not like deals you've seen over the years. They were very fair, and I think that's going to lead, and somebody else is being released tomorrow that you will know of. But we wanted to get this done, very important, and Steve wanted to actually fly over and get Mark and get him home properly, because it could be a pretty tough trip. In terms of the war, 1.5 million soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on, so we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big, important part of getting the war over with Ukraine. And we appreciate President Putin's what he did. He was able to pull it off for you, right? He was able to pull it off.
And I also should make mention that President Putin was very generous and statesmanlike in granting me a pardon. I mean,
the exchange that facilitated Fogel's release was led by Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, marking the first visit by a senior U.S. official to Russia since the invasion of Ukraine began. Trump mentioned having discussion with Vladimir Putin, but did not specify when these took place.
Did the U.S. give anything in return?
Not much. No, they were very nice. We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually. I hope that's the beginning of a relationship where we can end that war and millions of people can stop being killed. They've lost millions of people. They lost, in terms of soldiers, probably 1.5 million soldiers in a short period of time.
Fogel's family expressed immense gratitude for his return, highlighting the emotional toll his imprisonment had taken on them.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now.
China is firmly opposing any country provoking and threatening China's sovereignty and security in the name of freedom of navigation. This, according to the Chinese Foreign Ministry today. In response to the transit of U.S. naval ships through the Taiwan Strait. Now, on Wednesday, China's military deployed naval and air forces around Taiwan for combat readiness patrols and training missions after 2 U.S. Navy ships sailed through this sensitive Taiwan Strait this week, in the first such mission since President Trump took office last month. The U.S. Navy confirmed 2 of its ships carried out a Taiwan Strait transit, calling it routine despite an angry reaction from Beijing. The Navy said the vessels were the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, USS Ralph Johnson, and Pathfinder-class survey ship USNS Bowditch. The ships carried out a north-to-south transit on February 10 to the 12th. The U.S. Navy, occasionally accompanied by ships from allied countries, transits the strait about once a month. China, which claims Taiwan as its own territory, says the strategic waterway belongs to it.
The Eastern Theater Command of the Chinese People's Liberation Army has already responded, and I would like to emphasize that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory, and that the question of Taiwan is not a matter of freedom of navigation, but a matter of China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. China firmly opposes any country provoking and threatening China's sovereignty and security in the name of freedom of navigation.
President Marcos Jr. and Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet met at Malacanang to strengthen ties and signed 8 key agreements aimed at boosting trade, investment, and food security. The deals include eliminating double taxation, enhancing agricultural cooperation, advancing digital transformation, and promoting tourism through a 2024 to 2028 program. The leaders also agreed on initiatives to prevent cultural property trafficking and improve technical vocational education. With these agreements, both nations aim to deepen collaboration and unlock new opportunities for shared growth and prosperity.
We also discussed comprehensively our determined efforts to combat transnational crimes and protect our communities from unscrupulous individuals who take advantage of the industrious nature and strong sense of family of our peoples. We are also pleased with the growing partnership between our militaries and uniformed services. I anticipate the continued exchange of best practices and knowledge to support our mutual aspiration for regional peace and security and our collaborative efforts in enhancing our resiliency. On trade and investment, we welcome our formal cooperation in the avoidance of double taxation and the exchange of best practices in competition law that the Philippines and Cambodia both consider as critical to entice and facilitate greater bilateral investments and economic activities between our business sectors. We also see Cambodia as an important partner in ensuring food security. I am pleased that we have come to an agreement to pursue stronger collaboration in agriculture and in agribusiness.
Our multilateral cooperations, Cambodia underlines the importance of upholding ASEAN unity and centrality, especially at times of conflict and geopolitical dynamics. As the Philippines assumes ASEAN chairmanship in 2026, I assured President Marcos of Cambodia full support. In closing, I look forward to continuing work with President Marcos to expand our partnership and mutual prosperity, and hope to welcome Mr. President to Cambodia in the very near future.
What's behind the surge in U.S. surveillance over Mexican drug cartels? The Pentagon confirms that military spy planes have carried out at least 18 intelligence gathering flights in just 2 weeks, far more than usual. And it's not just happening near the border. These missions are reaching deep into Mexico. Take a look. The U.S. Navy's P-8 aircraft, with its powerful radar and the U-2 spy plane, famous for capturing incredibly detailed images from high altitudes, are among those deployed. So what kind of intelligence are they gathering, and how could this impact cartel operations? These flights have been cruising along the U.S.-Mexico border from bases in California, Arizona, and Texas, with one mission even reaching. These flights have been cruising along the U.S.-Mexico border from bases in California, Arizona, and Texas, with one mission even reaching into Mexico's Baja Peninsula. Interestingly, military experts say this is the first time the U-2 has been used to monitor cartel activity in Mexico. On the ground, U.S. Marines are also hard at work reinforcing the border wall with more fencing, especially as migrant crossings have dropped by nearly 80%.
My best option is to return to my country. I feel safe there despite everyone knowing there's an economic crisis. But you're in your country. You feel safe. It gives you a lot of security being in your country. In another country we suffer. Being a migrant is not easy. They deny us rights. We run risks because we're kidnapped. We're extorted.
Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is calling on the U.S. to team up with Mexico's military to tackle these drug cartels, but insists that Mexico's sovereignty must be respected.
Hay una parte importante que ellos tienen que hacer en su propio país.
There is an important part that the United States must play in their country in fighting drug trafficking. What's the final distribution on the streets? Aren't there cartels there? Or organized crime? We collaborate, coordinate, we meet, and work together. But we will always defend our sovereignty. So there's an important part they must play there, a very important part. And then there's the Attorney General's memo. It's a general decree with references, but it's not very understandable. We must wait and see how it will translate.
She pointed out that any U.S. agents working in Mexico needs permits processed through Mexico's security cabinet, and emphasized the importance of coordinating efforts and sharing information.
Todos los agentes de alguna agencia de Estados Unidos requieren un permiso de México.
All agents of any U.S. agency must have a permit from Mexico to be in Mexico. This is processed through the security cabinet, and there must be a joint coordination, collaboration, and shared information. This happens in any country in the world. So it's part of the coordination process. We coordinate and collaborate, but, as I've said, they must act in their own country too.
Como llevo mucho tiempo diciéndolo, que actúen también en su propio país.
As military spy planes take to the skies, it'll be interesting to see what other measures the Trump administration rolls out in its crackdown on drug cartels and violent gangs at the southern border. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
Ang mga maiinit na balita at rumaratsyad ng usapan ng bayan, ihahatid namin sa 100%! 100% ang pagbabalita! 100% talakayan! Lunes hanggang Biyernes! Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga! Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila! At sa NET25 100%!
Sa NET25, let's live together. Sa NET25.
Egg prices are soaring, and stores like Trader Joe's are now limiting customers to just 1 dozen each. The culprit? A bird flu outbreak that killed millions of hens, tightening supply and driving up costs. Yet another hit for shoppers already struggling with rising prices. Take a look.
Shoppers in the U.S. are seeing egg prices soar and purchase limits imposed due to a bird flu outbreak affecting supply. Stores like Trader Joe's now limit egg purchases to only 1 dozen per customer. And it's all another blow for consumers after years of rising prices. This shopper was unhappy, but trying to be understanding.
I saw one store, Trader Joe's, that limited it to 1 dozen, but their prices were cheaper than a lot of other places. Their price, I happened to look, theirs was $4.99, and I think Walmart's was $6 something. So I understand why they're doing it. I do understand. I'm not happy about it, but I do understand.
So far, the bird flu outbreak in the U.S. has infected nearly 70 people, mostly farm workers, since April. The H5N1 virus has also raised egg prices by killing millions of hens. Supply chain expert Matt Sutton-Vermeulen from consulting firm Kearney explains.
The price of eggs has gone up because of the supply-demand relationship. It's a highly inelastic commodity, which means it doesn't, the demand for it doesn't move when the supply is tightened. And so the price moves up, unfortunately, with it.
Authorities have also found a second strain of bird flu in dairy cattle, ramping up concerns about its spread. Experts are also worried that the virus no longer seems connected to the movement of wild birds.
Typically in the past, in the historical view of the virus, we've seen it stop when we've seen it peak and fall around the migratory flights. But we are not seeing that anymore. We are seeing a more prevalent disease state.
Last week, regulators closed poultry markets in New York City and some neighboring counties in a bid to stop the spread of the disease.
In New York, President Donald Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon, pleads guilty in state court to a fraud charge related to his fundraising campaign for the U.S. president's wall along the country's border with Mexico. Joanne Soriano has the details.
71-year-old Steve Bannon pleads guilty to 1 count for scheme to defraud. Bannon was immediately sentenced to 3 years of conditional release, avoiding jail time. President Donald Trump's former advisor was charged with money laundering and conspiracy. He is also accused of deceiving donors in 2019, who contributed more than $15 million to a private fundraising drive. This was known as We Built the Wall during Trump's first term in the White House. As part of his sentence, Bannon is barred from serving on a New York nonprofit for 3 years. He is also prohibited from using or selling donor data obtained as part of the scheme. Under an indictment brought by the Office of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, Bannon had previously pleaded not guilty and was scheduled to stand trial in March. Bannon did not address the court aside from entering the plea and confirming he understood his rights. Outside the courthouse, Bannon attacked Bragg and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
The existential threat to President Trump's administration, and I mean Doge, Elon Musk, Secretary Treasury Bessent, Russ Vought, Stephen Miller, all of his people. The existential threat is right here in this city. It is the queen of lawfare. It's Letitia James. Right now, Soros has a DA that's running unopposed. He can call a grand jury at any time. He can set up criminal charges on the most bogus efforts. Letitia James runs this deal. She's got a pliant media right here, pliant left-wing media. She's got a jury pool of only left-wing radicals in the Upper West Side of this city.
James was not involved in Bannon's case. She, however, previously sued Trump for civil fraud and won a nearly $500 million judgment against him. Trump has denied wrongdoing and is appealing. The indictment said Bannon promised donors that all their money would go toward building Trump's wall. Bannon, on the other hand, concealed his role in diverting hundreds of thousands of dollars to the drive's chief executive, Brian Kolfage. Kolfage is a decorated U.S. Air Force veteran who had promised to take no salary. Kolfage pleaded guilty in April 2022 to federal fraud and tax charges. He is serving a 4.25-year prison sentence. Trump cannot pardon Bannon on Bragg's charges because they were brought at the state level.
Joanne Soriano reporting from New York, New York.
President Trump is joining forces with Elon Musk to shake up the federal workforce. Now, Trump directed U.S. agencies to collaborate with Musk on a plan to identify government jobs that can be cut and functions that can be eliminated entirely. And the goal, to create a government that's more responsive to the people, with Musk leading the newly formed Department of Government Agency, or DOGE. This initiative is raising eyebrows about its potential impact on federal services and transparency.
President Donald Trump on Tuesday ordered U.S. agencies to work closely with top advisor Elon Musk's effort to shrink the federal workforce.
You can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people.
Trump directed agencies to identify government employees who can be laid off and functions that can be eliminated entirely. Before the order was signed, Musk stood alongside Trump in the Oval Office and fielded questions from reporters.
Can you talk a little bit about how closely you're working with agency heads as you're directing these cuts? Do they have how much input do agency heads have when you're making these decisions?
Yeah, we work closely with the agency heads, yeah. So there are sort of checks in place. So it's not just us just going in and doing things willy-nilly. It's in partnership with the agency heads.
The world's richest man defended his role as an unelected official who has been granted unprecedented authority by the president to dismantle parts of the U.S. government.
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted. We have a majority of the public voting for President Trump.
The newly created Department of Government Efficiency that Musk leads has thus far provided no information on whom it employs, where it is operating, or what actions it is taking inside government agencies. DOGE posts few actual results from its work, providing only dollar figures for cuts it's claiming to make in particular agencies with few specific details. However, Musk pushed back at criticism that he and his team there have operated largely in secrecy.
I fully expect to be scrutinized and get a daily proctology exam, basically. Might as well just camp out there. So it's not like I think I can get away with something.
Trump's executive order sets forth rules requiring government agencies to hire no more than one employee for every 4 workers who leave. It compels agencies to work with Musk's team to identify large-scale reductions in force and determine which agency components may be eliminated outright. The order exempts from cuts those employees whose work is critical to national security, public safety, as well as law and immigration enforcement. The push toward mass layoffs comes after the Trump administration attempted to cajole federal workers into accepting buyout offers. That effort has been blocked by a federal judge.
Europe's tallest volcano, Mount Etna, created a stunning display as lava erupted from its Boca Nuova crater, casting an orange glow across the snow-covered summit. The Catania branch of the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology reported that the lava emission occurred approximately 3,000 meters above sea level between the Boca Nuova and southeast craters. Volcanologists classified this as a subterminal eruption, noting that it originated from a fracture rather than one of the main crater vents. Standing at 3,300 meters, Mount Etna holds a unique place in volcanic history. It boasts the world's longest documented records of eruptions, with written accounts stretching back to 425 BC, making it an invaluable subject for geological study. And in Hawaii, Kilauea volcano on the Big Island has been putting on quite a show lately. Now, on Tuesday at 10:16 a.m. local time, it began its 9th eruptive episode since late December. By 10:45 a.m., lava fountains from the north vent were reaching impressive heights of about 330 feet, covering roughly a quarter of the Halemai Uma'o crater floor. Now, this eruption is part of a series of on and off activities that started on December 23 last year. Each episode has varied in duration, lasting as short as 13 hours to as long as 8 days, with breaks in between. Fortunately, all the volcanic action has been confined within Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, posing no threat to residential areas. Now, the park has seen an influx of visitors eager to witness this natural spectacle. However, officials are cautioning about potential hazards, including high levels of volcanic gases and fine volcanic glass particles known as Pellis hair, which can be carried by the wind. Kilauea is situated about 200 miles southeast of Honolulu. For those interested in a live view of the eruption, now, the U.S. Geological Survey offers a live stream. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. As we close tonight, let's remember that in times of crisis, kindness knows no boundaries. From our newsroom to your world, this is Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. Good night.